Hardly a year ever passes by without one politician or another claiming that the best way to solve the financial problems of a city, state, or country is to increase taxes on the rich. However, it is not that simple. In fact, taxing the rich can actually make the government's financial problems a lot worse. So in today's video, I'm going to break down exactly why hiking taxes on the rich is not a great option, and in fact, why it could be considered a poor man's choice. Without further ado, let's dive into the video. All right, guys, welcome back. We have to kick this thing off by asking, why do politicians like to propose taxing the rich like all the time? You know, oftentimes politicians have trouble balancing their books, and they have a set budget every single year. However, frequently, and when I say frequently, almost every single year, they don't stick to the budget and thus go into debt. For example, right now, the national debt in the United States is hovering around $31.7 trillion. That's with a T, guys. The United States debt of $31.7 trillion is the highest national debt of any nation in the world currently or throughout history. I mean, we're really setting ourselves up for success, aren't we? When governments find that they're going deeper into debt, they are faced with a difficult decision. They either have to reduce their spending, print money, or find additional sources of revenue. The problem with reducing spending is that it can involve cutting funding for popular programs or shutting down or reducing the size of government agencies, which cuts government jobs, and many politicians hesitate to go with this option because it can anger their voters. And this, as you guys may know, can threaten their chances of being reelected. Now, let's talk about the concept around printing money. Although it's a popular option for many nations, especially the United States, it does have its downsides too. When too much money is printed, it always leads to inflation, and it can increase significantly, especially for a nation like ours. For example, in 2020, inflation rates in the United States were only 1.2%, but trillions of dollars got printed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and inflation rates jumped to 8.6% in 2022. High inflation rates also anger voters as well because it results in higher prices for things that they need, such as gasoline, housing, food, clothing, and many more items. So to avoid angering voters by reducing government spending or by creating inflation through money printing, politicians often turn to the third option, which is increasing taxes on the rich. Are you following me now? So let's talk about why they go down this route. Here are some recent examples of proposals to increase taxes on the rich. President Biden recently released his budget proposal for 2024. Now, this budget proposal included a number of tax hikes for the wealthy, including increasing taxes for the highest earners to 39.6%. He also wanted to increase the Medicare tax rate from 3.8% to 5%. This is for households earners who are making over $400,000 a year, and roughly doubling the capital gains tax rates for investors making at least $1 million per year. These tax hikes have not all become law yet, and it is doubtful that they will anytime soon because Republicans in the House have expressed that they plan to reject Biden's tax proposals. For example, the Speaker of the House, Republican Kevin McCarthy, had this to say as it came to Biden's proposed tax plan. He said, "It just seems like it's going to create the biggest government in history. I don't think that we need that right now." Now, although Biden's tax hikes for the wealthy are unlikely to make it through Congress anytime soon, some states have passed their own tax hikes for the wealthy. For example, the state of Massachusetts has recently approved a millionaire's tax, in which it states that taxes will increase by 4% for annual income that is greater than $1 million. Now, high income earners in the state of Massachusetts will have to pay upwards to 9% in state taxes for income above $1 million instead of the standard 5% flat tax rate that the state used to have. California was another state that recently proposed hiking taxes on the wealthy. Last year, the state government of California asked its citizens to vote on whether or not it should apply an additional 1.75% tax on incomes above $2 million. I mean, high earners in California already pay some of the highest state taxes in the country. However, this would have seen them pay even higher taxes. Now, the purpose of this increase for California's top earners would have been to fund more electric vehicles in California by helping people to buy them and installing more electric vehicle chargers. However, this proposition, which was called Proposition 30, did not pass. It appears that voters in California did not want to see any increases in the already extremely high state taxes for its wealthy citizens. California is still planning to ban the sale of new gas-powered vehicles in the coming decades, and $10 billion has already been designated by the Newsom administration to boost electric transportation in the state of California over the next 10 years. So many people believe that the additional tax on the wealthy to fund electric vehicles was a little bit unnecessary. But just because it failed this time doesn't mean that the wealthy in California or other states won't have to deal with this tax hike. In fact, there is now a coalition of states that are in the process of drafting new tax hikes for the wealthy. These states include New York, Washington, Connecticut, Illinois, Maryland, Minnesota, Hawaii, and perhaps unsurprisingly, California. These measures are being put forth as a part of a new effort called Fund Our Future. Fund Our Future is supported by an organization called the State Revenue Alliance, which is a group that organizes political campaigns around its interpretation of tax justice. So as you can see, there are plenty of recent examples of proposals to hike taxes on the wealthy, and it looks like they aren't going to stop anytime soon. But there are a few problems with taxing the wealthy that we are going to cover in today's video. These problems reveal why taxing the wealthy is not as beneficial of a revenue strategy as many people make it out to seem. So what I want to do is talk about problem number one with increasing taxes on the wealthy. One of the biggest problems with increasing taxes on the wealthy is that oftentimes wealthy people get frustrated with having to pay more in taxes, and they just end up moving to lower tax jurisdictions as a result. Wealthy people typically have abundant resources, which makes the process of relocating to another area significantly easier for them than it is for people with lower incomes. In the past few years, there have been actually wealth migrations in which wealthy people fled from high income tax states to low or no income tax states in large numbers. This has actually resulted in a significant loss of tax revenue for high tax states and a significant gain in tax revenue for low tax states. Some of the states that have lost the most tax revenue due to high net worth individuals and families leaving are New York, California, Illinois, and Massachusetts. And I'm pretty sure you probably could have guessed those four states. In 2020, New York's tax base shrank by $19.5 billion, and California lost $17.8 billion. Illinois and Massachusetts also lost $1 billion in tax revenue from wealthy people fleeing the state as well. Meanwhile, some of the low and no income tax states saw significantly increased revenues during this period. For example, Florida gained an additional $23.7 billion in gross income. Texas gained an additional $6.3 billion, and Arizona gained $4.8 billion. So as you can see, as it becomes too expensive to live in one state due to high taxes, many wealthy people just move to other states to escape the high taxes. The same thing can happen when federal income taxes are too high. High net worth individuals can just flee a country and take residency in a lower tax nation. For example, right now, Norway is having a problem with its highest earning billionaires and multimillionaire residents moving out of the country and heading to Switzerland, where the taxes are significantly lower. In fact, Norway had 30 of its highest earning residents move out of the country in 2022. The top income tax rates in Norway is just under 50%. Woo! However, the top tax rates in Switzerland is between 25 and 40%, depending on which area you live in. And also, corporate taxes are also significantly lower in Switzerland compared to Norway. Now, another country that has experienced a large exodus of wealthy citizens in recent times due to high taxes is France. Even one of France's most famous and well-known citizens, actor Gerard Depardieu, you can definitely blast me in the comments, left France in 2012 due to high taxes. He moved to the nearby nation of Belgium, which has lower taxes. Depardieu, hopefully I'm saying that right, go ahead and butcher me now. Depardieu, who appeared in more than 100 French movies, was accused by the French government of being unpatriotic for leaving France due to his high taxes. Guys, I cannot even fake this. In response, Depardieu accused the French government of punishing success and talent. Now, as you can see from the high state taxes in the US, Norway, and France, raising taxes on the wealthy too much can just simply result in a large outflow of millionaires and billionaires. Here's problem number two with hiking taxes on the rich. The second problem with hiking taxes on the rich is that it limits their economic output. Sometimes people don't even understand this. Probably one of the biggest mistakes is thinking that billionaires and high net worth individuals are these idle people who just sit on their mountains of cash and do not really benefit society all that much. But the truth is that many wealthy people did not inherit their wealth. and they actually earned it themselves through creating successful businesses and making good investments. In fact, according to a study conducted by Fidelity Investments, 88% of millionaires are self-made. I mean, the more money that wealthy people have to pay in taxes, the less that they can put into their businesses or into the stock market or into investing in other people's businesses. So taxing the wealthy at higher rates just results in the government having more money. This means that the great entrepreneurs and business leaders who have fewer resources to use to pay higher wages to their employees, provide additional benefits, provide additional staff, pay their shareholders higher dividends, make new investments, develop new technology, want to even develop new technology, take the risk to expand the company. Well, when taxes on the wealthy are low enough, the wealthy tend to stay in the country and use their wealth to create all of these opportunities and to make tremendous companies happen and exist. They help to employ vast quantities of people. Guys, if you look at the United States, we have many great business people and wealth creators here. 3 examples are Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Donald Trump. Elon Musk is one of the great innovators of our time and either directly founded or currently owns great companies like Tesla, Twitter, PayPal, Neuralink, SpaceX, The Boring Company, and probably many other companies. Elon Musk currently employs 110,000 people. Jeff Bezos is another great American entrepreneur. Bezos famously founded Amazon in the mid-1990s. He successfully grew Amazon to one of the largest companies in the world. He currently has over 1.5 million people who are employed by Amazon. Now, in recent years, Bezos has also been working on a number of philanthropic projects and his space company, Blue Origin. Love him or hate him, Donald Trump is also another great American businessman who employs a large number of people. Trump is either the sole or principal owner of about 500 companies that are under the Trump organization. Trump's businesses primarily fall into 5 main categories. He owns golf courses, he owns hotels, condos, commercial real estate, and residential real estate. And he also does a lot of licensing deals. And for the use of the Trump name, the Trump organization currently organizes and employs 22,500 employees. Guys, through these businesses, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Donald Trump, they have helped millions of Americans to obtain jobs. Millions of Americans have been able to start families and build families by the wealth that has been created from these 3 entrepreneurs. Many people have also become wealthy by working at these companies just by being employees and not doing anything just other than just being employees. So if these men had to pay higher taxes every year, then they might not be able to grow their companies as fast and perhaps would not have been able to grow as large and be as innovative as they have been able to be, which means fewer jobs. Now, here is where Europe failed wealth taxes, because we're not the only country that has proposed wealth taxes or taxing the rich. In Europe, wealth taxes were a very popular idea. In fact, more than a dozen European nations imposed wealth taxes, many of which took place in the last few decades. However, nearly every single one of these countries eventually did away with their wealth taxes because they found them difficult to enforce, and they almost always resulted in a substantial loss of high-income earners because the high-income earners would just flee to other countries. European nations that did away with the wealth taxes include Austria, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, and the Netherlands. Even France eventually did away with its wealth tax as well in 2017. After many years of experimentation with a wealth tax, these nations found that they simply do not generate the amount of tax revenue that they were expecting, and the rules were too difficult for the government to even enforce. So, before France repealed its wealth tax, because they were one of the recent ones to repeal, the effect of the tax was studied by a number of notable economists, including French economist Eric Pichet. Pichet concluded that the France's wealth tax generated about $3.5 billion in revenue every year for the French government, but outflows of wealthy citizens was resulting in a $7 billion tax revenue loss for the government. $3.5 billion I gained, $7 billion I lost. You guys can do the math. So the policy was actually creating a $3.5 billion tax revenue loss for France every single year. This is one of the major reasons why they did away with the wealth tax. Now, one of the European nations that had not done away with its wealth tax yet is Norway. And I mentioned earlier, the country is currently experiencing an exodus of its highest income earners. Millionaires and billionaires are leaving the country of Norway. The bottom line I want you to understand is that hiking taxes on the rich is not a simple solution to the government's budget problems and revenue challenges as it often is made out to be. It's just not that simple. Many European nations have already learned this lesson the hard way, and it seems like we're just trying to learn it next. However, in America, it seems like the idea of hiking taxes on the rich has become more and more of a popular idea. If Biden and other politicians succeed in getting tax hikes for the wealthy, such as doubling the capital gains tax rates for the wealthy Americans, then they might find that doing this can generate a little bit of tax revenue, but not as much as they would have hoped. They might even trigger a large departure of billionaires and millionaires from the United States. So I have a question. What should we do? What should be done instead? The question is difficult to answer. However, at the very least, we should be careful not to raise taxes on the rich so much that they lose the incentive to stay in America and keep creating jobs here. Many wealthy individuals also do useful things, such as develop real estate and help to provide badly needed housing inventory in the United States housing market. So billionaires and millionaires are highly beneficial for creating housing in addition to creating jobs in the United States. Wealthy people tend to flock to areas where they believe they are appreciated and where they're not punished through high taxation for being successful. So before approving more taxes on the rich, we should ask ourselves, do we want to end up like France between 2000 and 2014 and see tens of thousands of our wealthiest citizens, our wealthiest investors, our wealthiest innovators flee to other countries and greener pastures? Because many people in the United States would argue that keeping entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Donald Trump in the United States is crucial for making sure that our GDP remains high and that millions of new jobs are created every single year and that unemployment stays low. Is that what we want? So in other words, if we want to keep brilliant business people and innovators in our nation, we need to make sure that it remains a good place for them from a tax perspective. Otherwise, many of them will just choose to leave. It is true that we still need some taxes. However, that does not necessarily mean that we need to take extreme measures like doubling the capital gains taxes for the wealthy. America's debt continues to get more and more out of control every single year. It might be time for the government to start reducing its spending. Well, hey, that's it for today's video. Congratulations on making it all the way to the end. What I want you to take away from this video is that the history has shown us in many nations that hiking taxes on the wealthy is not a simple solution to solving a government spending problem. However, despite the fact that this strategy has proven to be ineffective many times over, it is still commonly proposed by politicians. If you have any tax questions regarding your personal income taxes or your business taxes, then feel free to get in touch with my team today. You can schedule a consultation with one of my team members by visiting the link in the description below. You can also check out our course, Tax Alchemy. This is where I teach highly effective ways to legally leverage the United States tax code in order to minimize your tax obligations like the wealthy. So don't forget to check this out as well if you want to save a significant amount of money on your taxes. I'm going to say thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. You know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you soon.